Hello, my name is J.P. Davis, and welcome to our section of cell biology. We are going to go over the how organisms are alive, how our cell theory is actually composed, how we're going to go into the good old prokaryotes and eukaryotes. After we follow them, we're going to go into organelles, placing the organelles just by characteristics and their functions. From there, we're going to go to viruses and prions, and at the end, we'll go over a distinguished scientist who came up with the founding of cells. So as here, we are going to begin here with alive. How cells are alive. What does it mean to be alive? Alive means that all cells for everything has to be made of functional cells. They have to be organized by structure and function. And finally, they have to have nutrition, something that they'll be able to eat, something that will be able for them to be alive, metabolism, how much they can burn, how much they need to stay afloat, as well as for them to be able to grow and to reproduce. Now, as we finish that up, we just now go into cell theory. Now, cell theory was composed of multiple biologists over the last 3 to 4 centuries, and they all compose of 6 characteristics. Now, the first characteristic is saying that all living matter is made up of cells. I repeat, all living matter has to be made up of cells. Now, all cells come from pre-existing cells. Now, that means they come from a sperm. For example, for humans, they came from a sperm and an egg. Now, once those two came together and fertilized, they became and formed a new living being. Number 3, a cell is a basic unit of life. We have single cell organisms like algae. They are just only contains one cell. From there, we go to each cell is enclosed in a plasma membrane. That means they have a protection layer. It's called a plasma membrane. Now, for animals, they have a cell membrane, which is what we refer to as plasma membrane as well. And then for plants, they have a cell wall for protection. All cells have strong biochemical similarities. That means they come up with the basic chemical elements. We're talking about carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur, oxygen, and hydrogen. Now, most cells are in microscopic size. I mean itsy witsy, teeny tiny. You can barely even see them. You can't even see them right now visually. You have to see them through a microscope or a series of multiple microscopes. And as we finish there, cell theories are 6 main components. Now let's go into prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Prokaryotes are just the primitive cells that existed here on Earth. There are some of them that are still alive and still all around us. They compose of mostly your primitive bacteria. Now, eukaryotes, those are your protists, your fungi, your fungus among us pretty much, your plants, and your animals. Let's see here what at least they have in common. Okay, they have in common of DNA. Prokaryotes and eukaryotes each have DNA. DNA is an important factor when it comes to store all of the information. They all entail a membrane. Now that membrane can be solid, it can just be fluid or whatnot. They all contain ribosomes. Ribosomes are an important factor. They all have metabolism. They all need metabolism to keep themselves alive and afloat. And they all come in various diverse forms. Now with prokaryotes, the only thing that keeps them separate from eukaryotes, they have so-called a non-membrane organelles. Within within the organism, some of the organelles within that cell don't really have so-called a true membrane. They have no peptidoglycan, which is an important enzyme that is needed to use for function. They also have their DNA floating freely. It means there's no barrier for them, and they multiply or have reproduction through binary fission. Now, our eukaryotes, what they have separate from prokaryotes is that they all have a nucleus. And eukaryotes are normally 10 times larger than prokaryotes, so size does play a huge factor. The DNA is stored within the nucleus, and all eukaryotes go through a process called mitosis. As we continue on, we're going to go through the organelles. There are multiple organelles, so just bear with me. First one is the nucleus. It is what we call the mayor of City Hall. It is the mayor of the entire complex. It is where everything, all the information is stored. It's the main important of nucleus is that it stores DNA. Ribosomes, they are part of the lumber or brickyard. They're the ones who have the formation, the foundation of it. They all contain RNA, which is also indeed a requirement. Then from there we go to the ER, that is the endoplasmic reticulum, which is pretty much our highway, our road system. There are two parts of it. We have the rough endoplasmic reticulum and the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. The rough endoplasmic reticulum, they all have proteins. They have ribosomes that's all around and make it kind of like rough, edged. Then the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, they all have lipids and they go through a process of lipid synthesis. They synthesize lipids. From there we go to cell membrane and cell wall. The cell membrane and cell wall acts as a border or a wall of defense. The cytoskeleton, they are pretty much the steel girders, so they provide the internal structure of it. They also go into mitosis, where that occurs in. Cytoplasm, think of our parks and recreation, think of our lawns, think of our yards. What they do, their main focus is to protect the internal organs. The Golgi apparatus, the GA, that's our post office. Think of that as our FedEx or UPS shipping distribution center, where everything goes in, distributes, and it sorts it out separately, and it goes out to its own way. Chloroplasts. Chloroplasts are mainly found in plants. They contain chlorophyll, which is stored in thylakoids and stacks of stomas. What they do is they provide the green-friendly, the energy-friendly. Okay, the solar plant. Mitochondria, one thing about mitochondria and nucleus have in common, they're both double membrane. That is a key factor for help determining the cell theory. Okay, mitochondria, it's pretty much our factory, and it has ATP, which is important for energy. Lysosomes, they are our, what we call our waste disposal, our recycling centers. What they do is that they pretty much take care of anything that's been infected, so they get rid of that. Vacuoles and vesicles, that's our warehouse. Those are pretty much our water holders, our water towers. What they do is just pretty much have extra fluid to help support everything else. From there, we're going to go into viruses and prions. Okay, viruses, they infect cells and they replicate. They are not free living. I repeat, they are not free living. That means they are pretty much already programmed. They have DNA or RNA stored in here. They impact, they go into a cell or pretty much bacteria or whatnot. They have a claw, they attach to it, they send their DNA in there, it starts replicating, then that cell disperses, and there's more of the viruses. That's how viruses spread. Prions, they're an abnormal protein. The abnormality is that they change the setup of different proteins, and we normally see them more commonly in what we see recently, mad cow's disease. They need a host for survival, and they are not free living. From there, we're going to finish up with our main scientist I want to discuss here for just a few seconds. His name is Antoine von Leeuwenhoek. He is a Dutch loom merchant. He specializes in linen. So what he did is that he used a little tiny loom that you can see to count the thread. And what he realized, like, he's going to test some water over in Holland. So anyways, he tested some water in Holland. He found out these tiny little micro animals just zooming around, and he couldn't really figure out what they were. So he started to draw them, describe them. Other scientists around the late 1600s, early 1700s thought he was just insane. So they got their own stuff together, and they come to figure out that he is the father of microbiology. Again, I just want to go over a few things real quick about being cells have to be alive. Cell theory, again, 6 main important factors. Prokaryotes, eukaryotes, we figure out the similarities and split up in their differences. We talked about the organelles within the cell, talking about difference in viruses and prions, and